Thank you for joining us for All Things Real Estate. Now here are your hosts, Brad Avergon and Gary Kelly.
Good, whatever, morning, afternoon, day, night. WCRN keeps bouncing around when we're on. So I'm not sure where we are there. It'll be on the internet, I'll assure you that. You can look at that at any time. This is Gary Kelly with Lamacchia Realty, and I'm joined by
Brad Avergon with Fairway Independent Mortgage.
Brad. I don't want to talk much about real estate today. I hear a roar from the crowd, a roar of approval.
I don't blame you, Gary. You've had a tough few weeks. You want to share with our viewers, listeners, and how much fun you've been having?
Well, I've had something called spinal stenosis for a couple of years, and that means that it's an hereditary thing. Probably not helped by my weight, but I'm not going to go there. My colleague Sue would be quick to go there. But I've been through the lot of things. I've done massage. I've done physical therapy. I did all self-prescribed, by the way. I did chiropractic. Did injections, which, obviously a doctor does injections in your spine. I had something called a minimally invasive lumbar decompression, the mild process, which I'm not sure did much. And I just have been going downhill. And it's gotten to the point for me that standing has been an issue. I was to the point where I couldn't show a house without sitting down somewhere between showing the house. And so it was getting just progressively worse. And so I ended up talking to people at New England Baptist Hospital, and had a surgeon that stepped forward and said that he wants to do a laminectomy. Now, I say that that's a fancy word for if you take a lobster and you take the shell off and you let the lobster live. That's what a laminectomy is. It's a little bit more involved with that, but basically they take part of your spine off and they open up some pathways for your nerves, and life gets better. And frankly, it has. I am very, it was 3 weeks ago today that I had this surgery, and I'm up and about, and I have not been cleared to go back to work. I have not been cleared to drive. Of course, that doesn't stop me in either case. Just do what you have to do. I'm not taking, one of the things that the visiting nurses said, are you taking any narcotics for pain? And no, I'm on Tylenol. So they were like, yeah, if you're not on narcotics, you can go ahead and drive. But there are some things I've learned through this process, Brad.
What are those, Gary?
Okay. Well, the doctor said to me, we'll have you up and walking the first night. And that's true. But that was walking from one side of the bed to the other. In this particular case, this guy puts me in intensive care because apparently the anesthetic he uses, that's where people end up. And most of the people that are in intensive care are patients of this guy. So I'm there, and it's just weird because you're wired for sound, and you want to go for a walk, you get up out of bed and the bed alarms and all that stuff. So they don't want you falling. The other thing that was a surprise is they say you can't twist your body. Your spine's been compromised. Okay, that makes sense to me. So how do you wipe? How do you do basic things? Now, their solution is toilet tongs. You think of the tongs you have to flip a steak on the grill, you wrap those in toilet paper and that's what you use. Yeah, no, that's not really something that's going to work well. I immediately went to, based on a recommendation of a friend of mine that's also had this process. He says, you got to get a bidet. Now, you've got the bidets that you can spend hundreds on that, look like a small toilet. And I've seen them in houses, and I will fully acknowledge being guilty of cleaning shoes in them. But an accessory bidet is something that sits on top of your current toilet and it squirts water out, and it does most of what you're supposed to have done. And it's like $50 on Amazon. So made a big difference. Walkers, I've become I'm not going to say an expert at walkers, but I know that there are walkers that I got from the hospital that were kind of a wide body version that wouldn't fit anywhere. I got a walker, a narrow version from Bouvier Pharmacy in Marlborough. That was pretty effective, but they fall apart when you walk. They want me to walk, and that's my recovery. And they fall apart when you're walking on asphalt with them. So I got one of the fancy ones. It's got wheels, and yes, it does have a chair on it if I want to sit down. All the things that you see at the old age home are now a part of my life. And I'm not happy about that. I can understand why people resist that as long as they can. I find that the medical people, you got to watch them. No one's trying to do ill will, but the physician that did my surgery, who I think is a god, he said, you do not use any NSAIDs. You do not do ibuprofen. You don't do any of that stuff. And the second visiting nurse comes in and says, oh, no, you got to switch between ibuprofen and Tylenol. It's like, what? And so you call the surgeon and say, is that the case? And the surgeon's office goes ballistic and says, no, the person obviously didn't read our discharge orders. So you don't do that. They also had someone on their way over to I'm going to say install a bone growth stimulator. And I said, do I need one of those? I mean, well, tell me about it. And they said, well, you didn't have a fusion. If you had a fusion, then yeah, that's what you do. But you didn't have one. So obviously my information got out to someone that installs bone growth stimulators. And I guess that's a $5,000 device. So yeah, interesting that's just happening. I also found that, if not to be humble, there's don't be modest. That stops in the hospital. But don't be humble. I had a number of people, including yourself and Cynthia, that brought food. And in your case, you brought food and you stayed. But that's nice. Okay? Provided that you're willing to sit with someone who's fresh out of the hospital. It was nice to have someone to visit with and to laugh and talk about things that aren't medical related, as we're doing on this show. I was in the situation if I paid all my bills before I went in the hospital, but bills keep coming, so you got to keep an eye on them. I pay a lot of my bills online automatically, but not all. I do watch some of them. So you had to make sure that happened. Packages, Amazon, UPS, FedEx, they just keep coming. And they should. That's their job. And some of the stuff, you see a box there, and I have a neighbor that would call and say, Gary, a box in front of your place. I don't know what it was. It was something that I ordered 3 months earlier, or some of the marketing paraphernalia we hand out. Some of that, comes while you're away. And then remote hands was the other thing. I was kind of chained to a desk or the kitchen table in Sue's house because I was staying with Sue. Sue was able to do a lot of the stuff remote. La Macchia also has a program, which I think the world of, called Agent Field Services, where they will go out and, you need to have an open house hosted and can't get to it. They will take care of that. They take all the pictures and stuff. We really leaned into that service and took advantage of it. And that was great. It's just something that Anthony and the team have put together that's just a fabulous benefit. And literally, I'm knocked out at New England Baptist Hospital, and there's photos being taken on one of my listings. I think that's pretty cool. So just things of note in the land of the medical profession.
Yeah, you know what, Gary? It's interesting. I remember when I turned 50. All of a sudden, things. I coached all my kids through soccer all those years and everything like that, and all of a sudden I'm noticing my knee, is acting up and things like that. And my brain is still young, but my body is I'm feeling aches and pains that I haven't felt in quite some time. And then when I turn 60, well, the warranty is up and then things just start to go. And I guess the message is that life changes and sometimes life throws you curveballs. And I think that our ability to kind of adjust to those is important, and that's what you had to do. And kudos to you for getting it done. I'm glad you're not in pain anymore and you're able to kind of function. That's really, really good.
Well, I am functioning, and I am out doing listing appointments and stuff like that. Now, I don't want anyone to think that I'm out at the same pace that I was before, because I'm not. I'm kind of going, I'm going to call it at half pace, at least half pace for me. I can't go up and down stairs at the same pace I used to. I've got to do that gingerly. Same with just running around. I do a lot of running around and I enjoy that. If Anthony Lamacchia were on, he'd say some of that's wasted effort. I get that. But it's stuff I can get knocked off and you get a sense of accomplishment when it's done. So it's more at half pace, but business hasn't stopped. And we're going to talk more about business in the second half of the show.
Great. See you on the flip side.
Stay tuned. More All Things Real Estate coming right up.